Welcome to the No Quit Living podcast, where we aim to inspire and motivate people to never give up on themselves or their dreams. We will chat with highly successful people from all walks of life and discuss what motivates and drives them to successfully attack life head on and never give up. Welcome to episode number 28 of the No Quit Living podcast. I'm your host, Christopher J. Worth, and the theme of the day is perseverance. Our quote of the day comes to us from David Sarnoff. The will to persevere is often the difference between failure and success. Today's episode is sponsored by thebilliondollarbody.com. Men, are you looking to up-level your business? Are you looking to meet and connect with highly influential people? My good friend Nicholas Bayerly is hosting the #1 men's event this July 14th, 15th, and 16th in San Diego, California. Billion Dollar Body Live. Hear from expert entrepreneurs and surround yourself with like-minded men. Go to billiondollarbodylive.com to get your ticket. Once again, that's billiondollarbodylive.com. It is my pleasure to bring you today's episode. Our guest is a gentleman that wears many different hats. As an author, speaker, and social media entrepreneur, he defines hard work and recently shared the stage with Daymond John from Shark Tank. I would like to introduce Calvin Wayman. Calvin, I'd like to welcome you to the No Quit Living podcast.
Brother, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I appreciate you being here. So our #1 objective is to inspire and motivate our listeners to never quit. I wanted to ask if you could share either a personal story about perseverance or perhaps a challenging time that tested you, but you kept on going and never quit.
Man, we're just jumping right in right off the bat, aren't we? Well, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of ups and downs that we have, and there's sometimes like it's hard to pick which one is going to be the one that kind of stands out because there's so many. But there is one in particular that has stuck with me quite a bit over the last couple of years. It happened right after I quit my day job. So a couple of years ago is when I decided, you know what, I cannot be an employee anymore. So I ended up quitting my day job before I even had anything set in stone or lined up what to do next. And to make a long story short, I ended up deciding that if I was going to step into this entrepreneurial game, then I actually needed to learn the resilience of not giving up. And so I ended up going to do door-to-door sales to kind of help with that. So quit my day job, ended up moving my wife and my 1-year-old to Southern California to do door-to-door. And again, had nothing to fall back on. There was no savings. And in fact, I was just like, how am I going to pay for the bills that I currently have, the loans that I currently have, and this new rent payment that was 3 times the amount that I was normally used to paying in Utah. But I was like, if I want to be an entrepreneur, then this is what I'm going to do. So I just went after it. And I started doing this door-to-door thing. Now, what's important to know, I think, is during the first couple of weeks while I was doing the door-to-door thing, I went to California and did a little bit of training with the person that owned the company. We were doing solar energy, selling solar door-to-door. And we would hit probably 50 to 75 doors a day and get at least one deal. Now, there might be some people listening right now that just did the math and was like, well, you're getting one deal out of up to 75 doors. That's a shitload of rejection, right? Like that doesn't feel like really good odds. And you're right, it's not that great. So you can imagine that to not go crazy, you have to get at least one deal, right? A day, just give you a little hope. And the good news was in my training, we did get at least one deal a day. In fact, some days we got 2, some days 3, but usually got at least 1. Now, all of this is relevant. You might be like, why are you telling me this? Well, it's all just relevant to how the story turns, what it turns into. So during the first couple of weeks, got some good deals, enough that I pulled the trigger, moved my wife, my 1-year-old, myself out to California. Now we're in California, and I'm going to start knocking doors by myself. Okay. And I'm like, hey, this is new. I'm excited. So I'm going to go out there day one and I'm just going to crush it because I'm so excited. I've got to make this work. And I go out there day one, hit 50 to 75 doors. And Christopher, I don't know if you would like to make any wild guess at how many deals I got that day.
I'm going to say 0 on day one.
0. You would be correct, Christopher. So 0 on day one, my first day there. I was like, that freaking hurt. But I was like, okay, but you know what? I've heard that sales is a numbers game. So you don't always get them like consistent. Even though I was doing at least one a day in my training, if I had a day like today where I got 0, that just meant that the next day I was due for 2, right? So I kind of dusted myself off and I got up early and I went out and did another 50 to 75 doors on day 2. And on day 2, at the end of that day, I got 0. Another big fat goose egg. And it's not doing it justice, even just talking about it, like just quickly saying like day 1 was 0 and day 2 0, like every door, like it's kind of hard to imagine, but I just my hair starts to stand up on my neck when I'm revisiting this, because it's door after door after door, slam in the face, dogs barking, wondering if they're going to chase you. And the only thing that you hear in the neighborhood is this. Nothing. Just silence. And I just came from a management position where I was dealing with 30 people every day. And I was always around people, and I can't tell you how alone I felt already. And that was day 2. But then I go out and say, you know what? I've got to crush it now in day 3. And so I go out there day 3, and I hit another 50 to 75 doors, door after door after door. And on day 3, I now ended with still 0. At that point, I started to freak out. I started to question everything because it had only been a few weeks since I quit my day job. I just signed my name on this lease. My wife and my 1-year-old are depending on me. We literally have no other income. And so I say other income. At that point, it was no income period because I wasn't making any deals. And so I freaked out on day 3. But I was like, I got to keep going anyway. Now, if you can imagine how crappy it would be going day 1 with 0, or day 2 with 0, and now day 3, every single day with 0. Sit back and hold out tight a little bit because it's about to get a little bit more bloody.
Aye.
That's day 3. Now let's go to day 4. Still 0. Day 5, another 50 to 75 doors. 0. Day 6, 0. Day 7, door after door after door. 0. I am 7 days in where I had gotten a deal every day, and I don't know what the F was wrong with, like, I can't even tell you the type of feelings I was starting to have at this point. Like, I didn't know what was true and what wasn't true. I didn't know what was up and what was down. I was so confused. I heard so many stories of people that are like, if you just keep showing up, you're going to win. It's 80% of success is showing up. I'm like, dude, what the? I'm showing up. And I just kept showing up. And I can't tell you how scared and anxious and depressed I was. And then all of this, even as crazy as this is all still just set up for what happened on day 7. So on day 7, I end up going to this guy's house early in the morning, knock on the door, and his name is Frank. He answers the door, and I was able to give the whole pitch, which was a bonus in and of itself, because the thing with Southern California is not only was I doing solar, but so were thousands of other companies. And so if any customer just heard the word solar, they would like slam the door in your face because they had 15 other people that came to their house just the last month, right? So it was very saturated. But with this guy, I was able to get through the whole pitch, which was awesome. No door slammed in the face. And then he said something that surprised the heck out of me after 7 days. He said, you know what, Calvin, this sounds good. I'm going to do this. And I was like, awesome. Cool. So let me get your information. So I got one. So in 7 days, I got my first deal. And I just remember taking down his information and feeling like, okay, that's not, I should have 7 at this point, but at least I got one. Thank you, God. Like I'm like all is not lost. I'm gonna keep on moving. And I started to get down his information. And then something that you have to know about solar, Christopher, is at the after we got their information, we had to do a quick credit check over the phone with them, because essentially they were going to get panels installed for free. So we just had to make sure that they had a good enough credit that showed that they were paying their utility bill on time. So I get down his information. I'm excited. I call the person on the other line to do the credit check. I say, this is Frank's information. Here's his name. Here's his address. And then the very last thing, I just have to hand the phone to Frank to confirm his name and address, and we're done. So I hand the phone to Frank, and I still remember just doodling on my notepad, waiting for him to finish. And then Frank randomly says to the agent on the other line, you know what, why do you have to do a credit check right now? I don't really want to do a credit check at this point. And I remember looking up to Frank from my notepad and thinking, what the hell is he doing? And then he randomly says to the person, actually, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to do it like this. Cancel everything. I was like, whoa. I don't know what this would have looked like, but I just lunged and grabbed the phone from his hand. I was like, Frank, no, dude, we're good. Like, we're done. I have all your information. This is not to hurt your credit long term. It's called a soft check. It actually goes off in less than 2 weeks. It's just to show that you pay your utility bills. Like, we're good. It just you're going to get solar essentially for free. You just have to say that yes, that's my name. Yes, that's my address, and we're done. I said that, took a deep breath, and handed Frank the phone back. And we're just staring at each other in silence. Totally awkward. And then Frank finally says, okay, Calvin talked me into it. I'm going to do it. But I hope your CEO is listening to this, because I still think it's dumb that you have to do a credit check right now, even before the panels are on. And then he says, actually, you know what? I've really talked myself out of it this time. Cancel everything and send me an email confirmation showing me that you canceled it. Click. And then he hung up the phone. He handed me the phone and he said, sorry, dude. And I had to leave. So I can't tell you like how crazy it felt going out my first day, expecting to get so many and getting 0. And how bad it felt on day 3 that I went 3 days with 0. And still freaking grinding my ass off as an entrepreneur and just looking for something, feeling like I'm doing what I should be doing and getting 0. And then day 7, finally getting one. And not only getting it, but then having it stolen away from me and slipped under me and still at 0. I won't ever be able to explain what that day felt like, but I will say is I just lost it. I just got in my car and I started driving, and I was like, I can't do this. If this is what entrepreneurship is, if this is what it means to go after your dreams and to start doing stuff on your own, I don't know if I can technically stomach this. Like, this is insane. Like, what does this mean? Is this some sign that I should go back to being an employee? Like, what am I going to do? And I started to leave the neighborhood, and then I had to stop my car because I realized, but I can't leave. Like, where am I going? I was like, the only thing worse than what just happened and the rest of today is if I leave, I have absolutely zero chance of getting any deals. Like, I just seal my fate. And so I was like, if I turn around, at least I have some chance of getting something. And so I did. I turned around and I continued knocking doors all day long, door after door, door after door. It was almost dark. And at the very end, I got a guy. Just like Frank, I got to give the whole pitch. And also just like Frank, he said yes right at the end as it was about to go dark. But also, just like Frank, he canceled right at the credit check. This is all true, by the way, which makes it insane. That's what makes this so freaking insane. And so now it is dark, and I have to leave. The neighborhood's dark, and I have to leave the neighborhood. And I went from being anxious to depressed to just a mixture of confusion, sadness, and anger all at once. And I get in my car, and I started just screaming and losing it out loud. Like, I didn't know if I was screaming to the universe, to God, or whatever. I just started screaming, saying, "What does this mean?" You know, I'm working my ass off. Like, again, people say that showing up, like, if you just show up, you're going to win. I was like, I'm showing up. And I was like, give me a message. Give me what am I trying to learn here? Give me a message. Give me something. What does this mean? And I was leaving the neighborhood, angry, partly crying, partly just so freaking pissed. And as I was leaving, something came to me, a little voice came to me that said, Calvin, go back to Frank's house. And I was like, what? I was kind of confused at even the thought. I was like, why would I go back to Frank's house, the guy that canceled this morning? I was like, he's the one that started all this mess, you know? Besides, he already said no. And then it occurred to me, yeah, exactly. He already said no. So what more do you have to lose? So I went to Frank's house at night with it already being dark, and I dung his doorbell, partly confused why I'm even there. And he opens the door, luckily, and I still remember he just opens the door, and I have the light there above the porch shining on me, and I just say, Frank, why don't you just do this? You know, like, talk about a very persuasive, like, sales argument. and Frank starts to crack a smile. He steps out into the light and he says, you know what, Calvin? I'm going to do it. And now I was really, really, really confused. I was like, what did you say? He says, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this, and I'll tell you why. He says, I've been around a time or two. I'm an older guy. And I know that the people that succeed in life are the ones that just don't quit and never give up. And so I'm going to do this solar, and it's not because of the solar. It doesn't even have anything to do with the credit check anymore. It's because of you. Because again, I know that the people that succeed are the ones that never give up. And because you didn't quit, because you came back, I'm going to give you the order. And he did that night. He did the order. He did the credit check. He agreed to everything, signed all the papers. And as I was finishing up, the thing that made it even crazier is I remember writing on my notepad, and he came up and he put his hand on my shoulder. And what he said to me next was almost as though he was sitting in my car when I was freaking out. And he put his hand on my shoulder, made me look up into his eyes, and he said, Calvin, I know you're working your ass off, but don't quit. Keep going. Never give up. And that was the message that I needed, I think, at that point in my entrepreneurial journey. Because in a lot of the actions I was taking, I was wondering like if I was going down the right path and wondering if I should turn around, and I was always second guessing. But what that day taught me, what it gave me, the gift that gave me, that whole experience is I developed this tenacious understanding that if you lock your eyes on something, a dream, something you want to go after, or whatever you want to go after as an entrepreneur, just resolve to not freaking quit. And I did not have this before, but it just came to me. I started feeling like I had this love-hate relationship with the universe that I was like, this is what I want, and I'm not going to stop. So you might as well give it to me, you know? And so that day taught me to just keep on freaking going. And it was just like a month after that where it wasn't sunshine and roses right away. After you learn the lesson, you then get tested. And so I got tested more and more with some other dry spells. But by continuing to just keep on going and never giving up, it was just a month later where I made my first $10,000 month doing that. And it's been a wild ride ever since. So that's the long-winded never give up or don't quit story that has stuck to me and still sticks out to me when I think of not quitting in life and in entrepreneurship.
That's quite a story. Now I have a follow-up question to that is, did you ever go back and speak to Frank again?
Not since this story. I did like a couple weeks just to finalize things with his paper and meet with his wife, but he has no idea the impact that he's left. I have not talked to him yet.
You know, not to give advice, but that would be a pretty cool follow-up note or email for him to read on the impact he had. And I think directly and indirectly by him telling you probably at the time you needed it the most. You know, and that's something I talk about on our shows is that we all don't know the impact different people have on our life. And for example, somebody like Frank, who you knocked on his door 2 times, once in the morning and once in the evening, he had a profound impact on you not quitting. So it's funny in life, you never know where you might get that great positive advice or inspiration that really has an impact not only on you at that moment, but potentially on your life. And clearly that one story has helped you get to the level that you are today.
100%. It's super important. And yeah, I think I'm going to have to go back to that house or something like that next time I'm in California. But certainly, you never know the impact that you're going to make and the example you're going to be on others as well. So never don't extend yourself, you know?
No, I can't agree with that. And I'm glad you mentioned that because it's not only the impact that people can have on you, but it's the little things or one little thing that you do in one day that could have a really profound impact on somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we do is we utilize a daily quote in our podcast. And I was curious if you have a favorite quote.
Oh, man. Something that's guided me a lot since that day too is, there's a quote, 2 major ones that I think guide me more than anything, especially as a new entrepreneur, like stepping in, and that is done is better than perfect. Like that is so huge because so many times as high achievers, we're our own worst critic. And so we want something to be just right. But too often, I think that gets in the way and makes it never ship. Like nothing ever happens. There's no result that comes from it. So a quote that really sticks out to me is done is better than perfect. Like just get it out there, get it done. In fact, it was big enough impact on me that I made that an entire chapter in my book, Fish Out of Water, just because I think it's so huge. So I'm guided by that a lot. And then just as a bonus, another concept that's kind of a quote is successful people don't worry if they made the right decision or not. Instead, they make a decision and then they make it right. So I'll say that a second time. Successful people don't worry if they made the right decision or not. Instead, they make a decision and then they make it right. So what that tells me is nothing actually happens until you make a decision. You got to make a decision. You got to move forward. But too often, at least for me, I would always second guess myself and wonder, was that the right one? Should I have gone down a different path? And it kind of paralyzed me. And that's what fear's job is to do. Fear isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to freeze you. And as long as it's freezing you, then it's totally happy. And so what I learned with the decision piece is the point of decision is not the point. Like, that just gets you moving. It's the energy, the focus, and the attention that you put after the decision is made that will determine whether it will become its own self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So what I've just how I've started to act and behave is, once I've made a decision, just act as though it was the right one. Like, make it right. Do all the right actions, the right focus, the right everything to make that the right decision. Because it's what you do after the decision that actually counts. What you focus on, what you do, that's what's going to determine whether it was the right one or not. But you just got to decide and then make it right. So
those are two great quotes, and I appreciate you sharing them with those. As we all know, life is incredibly challenging. And I was curious, what motivates you and drives you to keep going every single day?
Man, I don't know where it comes from, but just freedom. I've always had it. I've always had this freedom. Like, it's two sides. Like, wanting freedom, but hating the idea of being tied down and having to do something just because I have to, like, because I'm an employee and that's what my boss said. Like, freedom drives me so freaking much. And then something that's come about fairly recently since starting a family that I'm fortunate with is for my family, having my wife and my 3-year-old son and now a baby girl on the way. Like, it gives me, thank you. It makes me start thinking of legacy and what I want to leave behind when I'm gone. And one of the things that I've learned is when I was first getting into the workforce, I would make decisions based on practicality. Like, how much money can I make? But who gives it? Like, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter. And people aren't gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna have the respect of my kids or my posterity because I took a job based on what I felt I needed to do practically. But I want to do something that I feel like is the right thing to do, and I'll figure out the money thing secondarily. And if I'm doing the right thing, then the money will come. So that's kind of a big driving force for me, is the freedom, and then just staying true to what I feel I'm called or meant to do, and leaving the legacy behind because I had the guts, I guess, to actually go after it.
No, I think you touched on a couple of good things, and the freedom component, obviously, for you is an important factor, as it is for many people, and the family and the legacy component as well. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So here's a question for you. If you could go back and give the 20-year-old Calvin one piece of advice, what would it be? Man, this is going to sound corny, but I would tell my younger self that you're already enough. Just jump. Again, not only are we overachievers, but sometimes we wonder if we have enough of the right pieces. But something that I've learned that I believe so much is just step in the direction that you feel is right. Like, take action, do something, and you develop yourself even more, and you'll figure it out along the way. But you don't need to have all the steps laid out before you move. As a matter of fact, trying to have all the steps before you get started will actually overwhelm you, and you won't want to leave or start moving. Like, if you think of a GPS, like if you were going to go across country and you put in the destination in your GPS, if it told you every single turn that you were going to have to make to get to the other side of the country, you would feel overwhelmed. You'd be like, I don't know if I can do that. Like, that sounds too much. But what does a GPS tell you to do? You just get moving, and then you do what's next. Like, turn right, then do that, and then get moving, right? So I think that's what I would tell my younger self, is you already have enough to get started, and that is enough. Get started. You just need to know the general direction of where you want to go, but you're smart enough, just freaking get moving. That is a good piece of advice, and I wish I possibly could have shared that with myself back when I was 20 as well. So here's a little different spin of a question. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk has had more of an influence on my life than any other business person or entrepreneur, I would say. I just love his whole philosophy on life and business, and just how he takes things as a long-term approach and how he understands the polarities. Like, he doesn't give a what people think about him, but at the same time, he equally cares what people think about him, and I think it's important to have that balance. So yeah, I would love to just hang out with Gary Vee and just bro it up or talk business. That'd be fun.
Bro it up with Gary Vee. I like that. So is there anything exciting that you're working on now or something that you're launching that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah. Something I've been getting more into speaking. So fingers crossed, I'm working towards a TED Talk.
Oh, nice.
That's
Congrats.
something I'm super excited about. Nothing in stone yet, but that's something I'm working on. And then on a more of a business standpoint, I'm doing a lot more with my social media business, and I'm creating some fun free products. One of them is something called a social media makeover that I used to charge like $300 for, but I'm actually going to start giving them away for free. In fact, I'm going to give your listeners them for free. And at the end, when we talk about like how to get a hold of me, I can share like where to get theirs. But yeah, that's something that I'm excited about, is just expanding my social media clientele, speaking more, and finding ways to help people leave them for free.
No, that's awesome, and I appreciate you sharing some of those free gifts with our listeners. So before we wrap up and get to that aspect, I just wanted to ask if you perhaps have some parting words for our listeners.
Yes. I think something that ties in to never quitting and everything that I've talked about is become a member of the CIA. Now, that sounds random. You might be like, what does that mean? Well, CIA for me stands for consistent, imperfect action. Every successful person that I've come to know, and I've been fortunate enough to rub shoulders with them and get to understand them on a deeper level. That's what they did. They didn't know all the answers right away, even if there's courses that tell you all the steps. When they were figuring out the course or how they got their results, it wasn't that pretty. So I think give yourself permission to mess up, get a little bit dirty. Don't let it be perfect. Don't worry about it being perfect, but just get in the game, become a member of the CIA, take consistent, imperfect action every single day, and you'll win.
That is awesome piece of advice. I was a little bit skeptical for a second. I thought you were going to advise our listeners to join the CIA, so I wasn't sure where this was going. But no, I think those are three great things: consistent, imperfect action. So last question, and I promise it's the easiest one. What is the best way for our listeners to connect with you or follow you?
Awesome. Well, since I mentioned the free social media makeover, that's probably the best place to get in touch with me. If you're looking to stand out on social media with your brand or anything like that, then you can get set up for your social media makeover by going to socialmediamakeover.org. Again, it's .org, so socialmediamakeover.org. And other than that, anywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, my website, you can find me just by searching Calvin Wayman.
Listen, Calvin, I cannot thank you enough. We will share those links in the show notes, but I truly appreciate not only your time, but what you shared with us today.
Christopher, this has been a ton of fun. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. To sum up today's episode and our theme of the day, perseverance, Calvin shared his personal story of not quitting. After moving his wife and young child to California and pursuing his door-to-door sales job, Calvin hit adversity head-on, making 50 to 75 sales calls per day. During those first 6 days, Calvin didn't make a single sale. He had a choice to keep going or give up. He chose to keep going, and on that 7th day, he finally earned that first sale. Calvin shared the acronym with us, CIA, which stands for Consistent Imperfect Action, which I think fits perfectly with our no-quit motto. So the question I pose to our listeners is very simple. Why do you quit? What challenge, obstacle, or objection have you encountered? And what have you done with it? Do you call it a day and give up? Or do you stay focused and keep going? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And no matter what obstacle or challenges you face, I hope this episode inspired you to keep going and to keep going for your greatness. And lastly, to our listeners, thank you. We truly appreciate your time, and we hope our episodes inspire you to keep on attacking life and never giving up. To quote Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, it's always too early to quit.